Amanda, why didn't we do this from our cottage?
Our bungalow.
Well, there's the first line for the podcast. Perfect. Alex, I didn't think of anything mean to say about you today.
That's okay. It doesn't always have to be mean.
Well, and often it's not mean because, like, if I make fun of your hair, that is like one of your proudest things. So it's not mean.
That's true.
It's just I'm pointing it out for the people who can't see it. But let's get into our podcast. Hello and welcome to Deep Cuts the Game, a movie trivia podcast where I give my three contestants three different movies and they try to come up with the most random, obscure, or minor actors they can think of. The deeper the cut, the more points they get. I'm your host, Jeff Penn, and with me as always, the Zach Garraway of podcasts, Alex Young.
Who is that?
Exactly, Alex. Okay. Who's Zach Garraway? You played that perfectly. Thanks for walking right into it. No, it's just a really lame joke because who's Zach Garraway? He's nobody. He's a made-up person.
Is it literally a name you made up? Is that the whole joke?
That's the whole joke. Is I just made up a guy that you are as important.
Running on fumes for episode 30, man. How are you, Jeff? How you doing?
I'm good. Your question for me the other day got ripped off by Tom Papa and Fortune Feimster on their Netflix Spotify radio show.
Oh yeah.
You asked me like, what's your like Christmas tradition that's a little bit different than other people? Mm-hmm. And they asked the same question, and then they both went on to talk for 10 minutes about the most normal things that they do. Like, I go to church on Christmas Eve, or one's like, we eat a special cookie, and I was like, these are not weird things. Like you going to the movies every Christmas Eve to avoid your family, and me bringing my own gravy are a little bit different than just
we nailed it.
Yeah, we nailed it. What do you got?
So this weekend, Jeff, not to avoid my family, but just because I see movies every weekend, more or less, I went to the theater and I had one of my favorite experiences because there's three types of audiences that I like. Festival audience, 9 times out of 10, is always going to be your best. Still to this day, one of the worst audiences I've ever had was at a TIFF screening of 12 Years a Slave, but that's a different story. 9 times out of 10, they're pretty good. Full House opening night for something we're all hyped for is my number one favorite audience. If it's like Avengers Endgame, it's Thursday night, we all bought our tickets 6 months ago, that's going to be a great time. My second favorite is the exact opposite. Completely empty theater, which is rarer, and it's only happened like 3 times in my life. One, ironically, was a Christmas Eve, seeing Babylon in a snowstorm. But I went to see Y2K, Kyle Mooney's latest A24 release, which I really enjoyed. It's super fun. It doesn't take itself terribly seriously. If you were around at all in the 90s, it's an absolute blast, and I highly recommend it. But I was the only person there at noon on a Sunday, which led to some fun selfies for me. I got to enjoy the whole theater as my backdrop for pictures. But mostly, it was just like a really, really fun way to see a movie. I got to laugh as loud as I wanted to. I got to be like, oh no, and not worry about anyone. I loved it. And then I saw a really good movie at home, which is Perfectly Good Moment. That's our natural segue.
Okay. I just want, before we man, that segue is good, but I was just like, all I could picture you is like in Cape Fear as Robert De Niro, just cackling in the theater.
Just the Max Cady in the front, like,
yeah. But you did set that one up very nicely, Alex. Mm-hmm. Perfectly Good Moment. And with that, we have, they did so much in this film, it's hard to list it all, but let's just say the writers of the film, one of the stars of the film, and the producers of the film. Like, is there more than that? Yeah, let's invite them in. We got Julian Seltzer and Amanda Jane Stern from Perfectly Good Moment. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, happy to be here.
Yeah, so is there any other credits we missed or I missed in that list? I'm sure you did other things as well, but
we didn't put them. Yeah, we didn't put them in the end credits, but I technically did the music supervision.
Oh, did you? Okay. I was gonna say, that was a note I had. I was like, I really did like the score, especially off the top. Usually I don't notice scores all that much. That's not kind of where I live, but I was like, oh, I'm getting a good vibe off of this. So.
Our composer is amazing. Yeah. And then I did the music supervision isn't just the score. It's the licensing of all of the soundtrack songs.
Okay.
So
that song, like we'll talk about the movie a bit because I want to tell people to watch this movie. I watched it. I think Alex and I watched it in different places. I've watched it on Tubi 3 times now.
Wow.
Well, To be fair, the first time I watched it was just kind of for quality control because, I was going to invite you on the podcast
Yeah.
and I really wanted to make sure it just wasn't terrible.
Yes.
So
Valid.
We passed the little jump. Not terrible. A glowing review.
yeah, come on the podcast. This was great. I would love to have you on. And then I watched it again more for research, but then made the mistake of taking some CBD oil about an hour beforehand. But
No.
I did notice things in a different way as I was watching it
no.
under that influence, and then watched it again because I was like, you need to take better notes than what you did while you were a little bit high and a little sleepy. And I was like, oh, now I see. Like there was something stood out to me a little differently when I wasn't.
A very good friend of mine who had given me script notes. She was one of the people who watched it when it was a rough cut to give edit notes. So when she did finally see the finished thing, she watched it high, fully knowing where it was going, but she watched it with her boyfriend, who she was not with at the time that we were making this. And I've never met him because she moved back to her home state. So he and I just have not had a chance to meet yet. So this was his introduction to
Here's
me.
my friend Amanda.
Yeah. She said to him, she was like, yeah, you'll meet her one day. You'll meet her and Julian, the producer. And he goes, is Julian the guy? And she goes, no, that guy is like on Broadway or something.
So Julian, without spoiling the movie, especially, there's whatever. I'm not even going to say anything. I've already saying too much. But how would you pitch this movie to watch it without giving it away, which is a tricky thing to do, I know.
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know if I've been asked it quite that way. I feel like this is like my elevator pitch. Usually I say it's about a woman who's been on and off again with a significantly older man who she met when she was younger. And she's come back and you're not entirely sure what her motives are. And it's not necessarily progressing in a linear way. So it keeps you on your toes for how to figure out what exactly is she planning.
Good pitch. And I will say that I did really enjoy the structure of this movie.
Thank you.
A lot. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah. I watched it first and then I said, Alex, I'm like, no, you should watch this one. So I think, Alex, you watched it on Hoopla.
Yeah, you can get it on Hoopla.
Yeah, so
that's through your local library. It's like it's great.
Support libraries.
I've heard of it, and I don't think it's connected to the New York City libraries. So it's just like I have no access to it, but I've seen the name.
Oh yeah, it's great now, especially now that I've got like my Toronto library card has such a bigger library than like my kind of suburbs of Toronto. Now it's also available on Amazon Prime, if I'm not mistaken, as a rental.
Yep.
It's on Tubi. As the producers and everything of the film, what's better for you? Where do you want people to watch it? Like Tubi? Is that
interesting?
Okay, I was going to say, like, do you get more money kind of through Tubi? Wow,
Yep.
even if someone rented it on Prime.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tubi, what we've heard is that the percentage kickback to the filmmaker is higher off of Tubi than any other streamer.
Wow. Okay, so everyone watch this movie on Tubi, which Alex and I love because it's free.
Yeah.
And just keep it going in the background for days at a time.
Put it on mute. Just run it on mute. Julian,
this is what we do with our podcast.
Done.
Yeah, we did that with our podcast at the beginning. It was just like I just ran the first 4 episodes on repeat.
Yeah, exactly. Just put it on mute. Let it keep going. I mean, it might be the weirdest thing to have as your background. I know Julian's mom has left it on for an entire day on mute in her house.
Amazing.
Yeah, Bonzo the cat definitely has seen that movie a number of times.
Well, and it's nice that it's only, like 72 minutes or something like that?
Yeah.
So you can stream that thing like 22 times a day. And honestly, like I said, I've watched it 3 times, so I feel like I've done my share.
I think you're good. Yeah, you've watched it once for each act.
A couple. Okay, so first of all, Amanda, without getting too specific into the movie, are you okay? There was 2 scenes, and I'll talk about them a little bit, but just there was a scene where you're reaching for a wine glass.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly had to stop the movie right there because I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this guy. And I don't like anything about him. And then there's a scene later on where you're on the couch and he's very happy to have you back. And he's just so grabby that I really didn't like him. Like, you already don't like him. Like, his name's Steven, right? Steven
Yeah,
Carlisle.
Stephen Charlie.
Yes.
He is so good in this movie.
I know,
Sorry to
I love
just jump
him.
in there, Jeff. He was phenomenal. You were also phenomenal. But from frame one, when
He's amazing.
when he's like too close at the snack table, I'm like, get out of her space, guy.
Yeah.
I hate it. And then
He's wonderful. I love him.
And his hands, I don't know what he was, but his hands seem so big.
They are.
And when he's got them on your shoulders, I was just like, stop touching her. I don't like what you're doing. But so if I'm not mistaken, he's on Broadway. Is he currently on Broadway in The Lion King as Scar?
Yep.
So that's really cool. So yeah, he's got a very interesting, the name I wrote down, because there's a line where he says, if I'm not mistaken, it's something like, shut the fuck up. And he has a very Voldemort kind of vibe to him.
Yes, Ray Fiennes.
Ray Fiennes. It was at first I said to Alex, I'm like, he's got like a Christopher Eccleston kind of vibe to him with a little bit of a Patrick Wilson with the beard and everything. But then I think it was on the second and the third viewing, I was like, this guy's Ray Fiennes. This guy's doing
I know the
really
line.
good
He hisses it. He
hisses it. And it's like, shut the fuck up. Yeah, and I was just like, oh, I don't like him more now. Gosh, there's a lot of things I want to ask you, but I'm so worried about. Yeah, it was just like, and all his sniffing and his smelling you and smelling the wine.
We cut together a compilation of every time he sniffs.
We call it the sniff take.
Amazing.
And
actually, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah,
because I am curious. How much of the characterization and the little mannerisms and the things like the sniffing that Steven's character had, how much of that was on the page and how much did he bring to the character? And was there a lot? Or was it all just pretty much written?
I think, so it was pretty much written. He amplified everything. So he took it even further. So most of the intimacy choreography was written on the page. Almost exactly the way we shot it. Things got changed just because you write it thinking of one location and then the location changes. And then, so for the sniffing, I definitely did write some of the sniffing, especially about the wine. But he took it even further and would do it with my hair, with the coffee.
Yes.
So anything he could sniff,
Sniffing
he turned
fingers.
it into that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
that was another scene. Yeah.
That was
like,
him.
ugh. Yeah.
That was him during a rehearsal. He did that. I didn't even see it the first time because, my character walks away and all of a sudden I just hear Lauren go, "Oh my God, Stephen, yes."
Lauren's the film's director.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lauren
Greenhall. Yeah.
Yes. And so I look back and he's just there on the couch with his fingers in his mouth. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah. I don't know if I noticed it the first time I watched it. I definitely didn't notice it the second time, but I did notice it the third time because my wife was in the room and she's like, what's going on in this movie? And I was like, it's not something you can walk in halfway in and I can explain it to you. So the other thing I wanted to say to you is both of you and to Steven is congratulations on maybe making one of the worst villain. I'm going to say a villain. Like there's always a thing on social media, like, hey, who's your favorite movie villain? I know who my least favorite movie villain is now. It's this guy. Everything about him.
And that is a compliment.
Yes, it's a compliment that by the end of I was like, yes. Anyway, Alex, do you have anything else?
I do actually, because it's such a small movie. It's basically a cast of two in essentially one location, more or less. And I'm curious if there were any difficulties with such a small cast and a single location, or unexpected advantages, other than the obvious advantages of it's easier to schedule and it's we don't have to do a ton of setups. But I'm curious if there's anything unexpected on either spectrum.
Well, so I love 2-character, 1-location movies. My biggest inspirations behind this script were, what if Last Tango in Paris turned into Hard Candy?
Yeah,
and
that all makes sense.
Yeah, those are basically 2-character, 1-location movies. So it's something that I watch a lot anyway, and that is part of why the structure is nonlinear, because I was thinking, sure, I want to do this and I want to make a feature. I've seen a lot of these one location, two character features where it's just being set in real time and there's no change in what's going on. So you're just watching something that feels more like an acting exercise than a movie that can exist in its own right. And that's part of why I like things that I'm a huge fan of The Handmaiden, which is a 3-act structure. There's a French film called Love Songs that is split into a distinct 3-act structure. So I like going back and revealing things that you didn't get the first time around and showing perspectives and playing with that.
That's awesome. That's really interesting. And like I said, the structure is excellent. I really enjoyed it.
It was very much inspired by The Handmaiden.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I have one last question that's kind of off subject, but what pizza place are you guys talking about? This is on my third view. Is there an actual pizza place?
Yes.
'Cause I have a feeling there is, right?
Prince Street Pizza, but they don't actually put one basil leaf on each slice.
No, but I did look up. I was like, okay, they said Prince Street, the pizza place. So I looked up. I was like Prince Street, and there was like, yeah, and I was like, this must be the place.
It is famous.
right.
And
Well,
when
the next
we
time
had
I'm there,
We really did film walking distance from that. pizza
Okay.
place.
Yeah, actually, when I first wrote it, I thought they'd be in an apartment on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. So I had originally had it be a pizza place on 3rd Avenue. And then the apartment we ended up filming in is in Soho.
Okay.
And it's just the way that apartment looks is so distinctly Soho and not Upper East Side. So I changed the line to be Prince Street.
Yeah, it's an old loft. It was an old elevator factory. What the building.
It's a super nice apartment.
Yeah,
I was a little distracted in the first like 15 minutes. I'm like, oh, what is the rent on this? I love the exposed brick.
It's not for rent.
It's so pretty.
It is not for rent.
I
It is
assumed.
owned.
Yeah, that seemed right.
It's on the market, I think. I think he's selling for
Oh,
Yeah,
I for sure can't afford it.
for $4 million.
Oh, is that all? Then never mind.
Oh, we can
course.
afford it. Yeah, that's
With
perfect.
this podcast,
Pool your
of course.
resources.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we spoil anything about the movie, because I think we may come back and ask some other follow-up questions after we play the game. So why don't we hop into a game of deep cuts? The first thing we do is I think of a movie, and my 3 players try to figure out what movie I'm thinking of. I'm going to tell you this right now. It has nothing to do with anything. There is no tie-ins to anything. So, Amanda, what movie am I thinking of?
Christmas with the Cranks.
Wow. That's on Tubi, if I'm not mistaken, right now.
I have
so
no idea. I just think you're in a holiday movie mood. So that's where I went.
Julian, what movie am I thinking of?
I'm going to say this because I've been driving Amanda crazy with it for about a week. Santa Jaws.
Oh, Jeff and I watched that, and I think on Tubi.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a winter of like bad movies we watched. So we did every bad Christmas movie.
Oh, did you
And
do
my
Saving Christmas?
Saving Christmas. That
Oh,
sounds,
don't do Saving Christmas, please.
That sounds
We just
like
did
a
that on
legit
my
movie.
pod.
Okay.
It's not a legit movie. It is 50 minutes of 2 men talking in a stationary car.
You're not saying the title right. It's
Kirk Cameron Saving
Christmas.
So we did it on my podcast because this month we're doing Tops and Bottoms Christmas movie edition, and it is not only the worst ranked Christmas movie of all time, it is the second lowest rated movie on Letterboxd of all time, and one of the worst movies of all time. It has a walloping 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's not that 0 critics have reviewed it, it's that every single one hated it, including the Christian newspaper.
Even they were like, this is terrible.
Well, the argument is that the true spirit of Christmas is consumerism. Yep.
What's the line in the movie? What if even Scrooge had his reasons?
Yeah, no, not what if. It's even Scrooge had his reasons. And it also has the line, get out your credit cards.
Honestly, it sounds like a winner.
Alex, what movie am I thinking of?
Because I am halfway through a book that just came out called Box Office Poison that I highly recommend to everyone. It's chronicling a bunch of like Hollywood flops from like 1916 to present day. It's so interesting. But I'm going to say Cutthroat Island.
Ooh. Okay, well, it's none of those, surprisingly. It's not a Christmas movie, unfortunately. It's just Zathura.
You love that movie.
I do love Zathura. and I'm looking over because I got like 4 DVDs stacked up to keep my like USB cables from not.
I love that.
going.
Like, I don't think Amanda's ever heard of this movie.
I've heard
really?
of it. I've
Oh,
never
this
seen
is-
it.
Okay.
Oh, the third is good. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of a unofficial sequel
Jumanji.
to Jumanji.
Okay, oh, it is? Okay, so I'm thinking
Yes.
Jumanji.
Yes,
So-
but they play a space game this time, and it's Tim Robbins is the dad.
Oh.
The boys.
It's the same author as the Polar Express.
Yes, it is.
So it's technically a
Really?
Christmas movie.
Yep. Oh yeah, it kind of is. And who is it's the kid from Josh Hutcherson from the Hunger Games.
Oh, okay. We just saw him in a movie.
Kristen Stewart is the sister,
Oh, yes. Okay.
and
I
then
do. I saw
Dax
a clip
Shepard
from it
is the
recently.
handsome astronaut.
Yes, I saw a clip from it recently of Kristen Stewart, and I was like, "What is this? I have
You'll
never
haven't
seen this."
Me neither.
Yeah, I haven't seen
Um,
it.
I mean, you've sold me on that it's a Christmas movie, Julian. So and there's
Chris
toys in it.
Van Allsburg,
So I'm
is
gonna-
that the author?
It's the same guy. Yeah, he did that, and did he not?
He did that, the Polar Express.
Did he do Hugo? Am I thinking of the wrong guy?
I mean, I know who
um,
directed Hugo.
Me too.
Yes,
I could
I
not
don't remember
remember
Hugo
it.
as a picture book as a kid.
Was
It-
it?
It was like a really big book that had pictures.
Are you
in
thinking
it.
maybe Tintin instead of Hugo?
No. Well, John
I also know
Favreau
who
directed
directed
Zathura.
Tintin.
So do I.
We're gonna
Chris-
crush this game.
Yes.
Chris Van Allsburg,
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
is the writer.
He's the illustrator too. He has a very
He's
Yeah,
not
it
your
was realistic
nemesis, right?
style.
Yeah,
Julia?
you're right.
no.
Polar
He's not
Express.
my literary childhood nemesis.
Yes, Julian has a literary childhood nemesis.
Say more about that.
So when I was 6 years old, I wrote letters to children's book authors who I liked, and many of them wrote back. One who did not write back, years later, I saw his book in a pile, probably 20 high, as if no one was buying it, at Five Below, the discount store. So I felt really,
You
really
vindicated that?
vindicated that my childhood nemesis has not had a good run.
That's hilarious. I hope that you just like as a child managed to curse him because he
I-
didn't write you back, and you brought this.
That's what
upon him.
happened. Yeah.
Amazing, incredible work.
That's okay. I used to not like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but I've
Mm.
overcome that because he's like really talented.
Good job,
So-
Jeff.
I get it. He sometimes comes off a little fake.
It was when he was a child actor, and he was
Okay.
on like before Third Rock from the Sun. He used to be on like Roseanne as a friend of the Sun, like DJ, and he was really
Mhm.
annoying. And then he was on an episode of not just Jeopardy and not Celebrity Jeopardy, but it was Teen Celebrity Jeopardy
This
with
is
him and it was with him and Kirsten Dunst were on it, and he was
Oh,
so
wow.
bad at it that I really disliked him for a while. I don't know why.
Was she good at it?
I don't remember, but one of the questions literally was about Interview with a Vampire. And the question was like, who wrote essentially Interview with a Vampire? And he's like, Kirsten Dunst. And I was like, I know you're trying to be funny, man, but no, she didn't write it. She's
Jeff
just
has
a
no
little
time
girl.
for your shenanigans.
I did not. Okay, so we're gonna go Amanda first because there's toys and Christmas with the Cranks, and you've sold me on it being a Christmas movie. So Amanda, where would you like to go first, second, or third?
I'll go first, just in case I actually
Whoa.
really know it.
Bold,
Then I'll
bold
have a
choice.
deep cut. I mean, look, if I don't know it and you guys start naming names and you're right, that's not going to make me think of names.
That's true. Very true. Julian, because you sold me on this being a Christmas movie, I'm going to let you decide if you want to go second or third.
I might as well go second. What do I have to lose?
Your dignity.
Yeah. And Alex, look at you. You get to go in the third spot where you like to go every time anyway.
It's where I like to go, and yet I have noticed that I perform better in other spots.
Mhm.
But I think
Mhm.
that's just luck with the movies.
It's okay. We might all do bad. Maybe I will now break your new record for the lowest score.
That's
No, you're
six.
not gonna do
It
bad,
can't
Amanda.
possibly happen.
Okay, so I asked you for some of your favorite movies, and you both sent me a list of very good movies that there was pretty much no way in hell I could put them in the game because either they weren't very deep, or they were like very old or kind of obscure. That I was like, man, if Alex hasn't seen this 1946 film, he might be in trouble. I think what was the other one? Was it Fido? Did
Yeah,
someone have
Julian had Fido.
Yes, and
I think, hey, I put Roadhouse.
Roadhouse
That's-
would have been a decent one. I'm trying to think. Yeah.
Outside the lead, I couldn't tell
I think
you.
what did I do? I was Blue Velvet.
Yeah.
I was Blue Velvet, Hard Candy, His Girl Friday, Roadhouse, and what was I don't remember what my fifth was.
All of which we've done on the show before.
But instead, because you're both from New York, I don't know, are you both born and raised in New York? Or
I am.
are you are? Okay. Julian.
I was born in New York. I grew up in New Jersey, sadly.
Oh, you know what? Then this movie is perfect for you. This might work out perfect then, Julian. So I wanted to give you at least one Christmas movie. So I didn't want to do Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. It just felt a little too obvious. So I went with the 2015 comedy, The Night Before. Let's just say it's about 3 famous guys who do a bunch of drugs and have the perfect New York Christmas Eve. I don't want to give too much more, so write down some names. And then also from New York, from 1985, After Hours.
Oh, I watched that not long ago.
The
That very famous
director one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, fuck, what is her name?
So then
I know her name.
I felt I had a little bit of a theme going here, Alex, with kind of like people in New York trying to get somewhere by a certain time and do certain things. So that tied into my third movie, which hopefully this will help Julian out because he's grew up in New Jersey. The 2009 comedy, Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist.
Jeff, I've not seen that movie since 2009.
You say that every week about one of the movies, and I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know.
While our guest and Alex try to think of some deep cuts, why don't we hear a word from our sponsor?
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
Turn your dial to find the frequency of the past.
Captain Midnight.
Where the classic stories of mysteries, sci-fi, thrillers, and suspense are found waiting to be heard once again.
Another case for Nick Carter, Master Detective.
You'll find a variety of those stories here, in their original form, where each episode takes you to another place or time.
The Man of Bronze, Doc Savage.
But only when you find the mystery frequency. Available everywhere.
The shadow knows.
I love the way Amanda is physically, like a lot of people play the movie in their head. Amanda seems to be acting out different characters' parts.
I'm talking to myself and trying to remember an actor's name who I don't like, but I think he's in one of these movies.
You don't have to give us the name. You can just say like so-and-so from this other thing. If that helps.
Yeah.
Great.
We love vague, like, oh, he's the tall guy in,
We've had people give us descriptions of like sharp nose, and we're like, all right, we'll take it.
Close enough, yes.
Great. Okay. No, I'm going to remember his
helps
fucking
you.
name. I can see him. And he's in...
We'll need more than that, though.
Oh, I know so much that he's in. Got it.
I've only got like 5 names written down, Jeff.
And 4 of them are going to get taken. Like, or
Yeah.
2 will get taken before they get to you.
Or I'm going to think they're pretty good, and they're all like 6 points. And then both Julian and Amanda are going to come up with like, this. And you're like, yeah, that's 18 points.
I don't know.
Like, oh my God.
These are movies I have not thought about in so long.
I will tell you this before Amanda gives her first deep cut. From what I can tell, there's only one crossover, one person who appears in more than one of these films.
I'm assuming
It would be
impossible
to get it. It will be impossible.
Can
it would
you
be
act
40
it out
points
for us, Jeff? Just for us at home.
For us at home. Yeah, I don't know. He does that maybe, and like, I don't know. He does. Did not.
I'm guessing who I think it is.
Okay.
You need to improve your mime work, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm not a trained actor like Amanda is, who clearly took several years of miming and.
But it clearly paid off. I mean, she keeps writing stuff down, so
Yes.
we can't
Okay, but
complain.
it might all be wrong.
Oh, that's always the best when someone's like, this person. I'm like, not even close.
I mean, for The Night Before, I am full on just guessing people
Okay.
from other comedies.
All right, so don't worry. You don't even have to hit all 3 movies either. You can,
Yeah, you can
I
just
know.
focus
Oh,
on
yeah.
one. And The
Yeah.
Night Before is the only one I kind of know, so that's going to be mostly my focus.
All right. Well, why don't we get into it? Amanda,
Hmm.
what do you think's your deepest cut? What do you got?
Is Fred Armisen in Nick and Nora or The Night Before?
He's not.
Oh my god.
Dang.
Oh no! Now I feel really bad. Was that the
I
person
don't
you were?
want to be mean, but my
That's why I want
confidence
it to be a
has
really,
skyrocketed.
really, really deep cut.
It would have
No.
been a super deep cut because
It's
he's
a
not
great
in.
guess because
It's
he
a great-
should be in that movie.
He's a
for
New
sure.
York comedian.
You would think he would have
And I-
showed up in like Nick and Nora as in a
Mhm.
band or something, or just some strange guy at the subway.
Because I do know who the leads of that movie are,
Mhm.
but they're
Yes.
the leads.
Well, it's not Fred Armisen,
Darn.
unfortunately. Julian, you get to go with your first deep cut. What do you got?
Ooh. So these are actually I haven't actually seen any of these movies. I'm gonna be terrible here. So
Well,
I'm
Amanda got 0. So
Yeah,
yes. So I'm picturing the poster for After Hours with
Mhm.
the clock and the guy, and I mean I think I've got the leads for Nick and Nora, I believe. So I could just steal one of those.
You'd be
but-
ahead of Amanda.
and be ahead of Amanda. But I don't know. I feel like The Night Before. Again, I'm trying to narrow down like which. I don't know this movie, so I'm trying to figure out which kind of like which kind of group of actors. I feel if I can break through one and I get a yes.
Yeah, I would say
This is
wait on
like-
that. Then. Like, let someone break the ice for that, and then that might cue you up with some friends, rather than trying to like, oh, this is a Steve Carell or whoever, someone like that. Like, I wouldn't start guessing yet.
Yeah, I was trying to strategize that way. Like, do I try to break into one of them? But I guess I could wait on that. I'm torn between one person who I think is in After Hours or just the 2 leads from Nick.
Go
and
with
Nora.
After Hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, risk it out of the gate.
All right, risking out of the gate. Is Judge Reinhold in After Hours? No. All right,
No, it's not.
I'm done. I'm checking out.
You're just thinking about Zandali again, aren't you?
I'm stuck on that. It's so good.
I watched that not long ago.
Zandali?
Wild movie, yes.
It's almost what would happen if Tennessee Williams made an erotic thriller. Almost. Almost.
That's a great pitch for that flick.
Hmm.
Alex Young, you've got 2 picks right now. 2
I've
cuts.
got 2 picks,
and
and they're going
your
to be people who are
competitors who I really
actually
want to
in the
win over you.
honestly, me too. Because I
have-
really appreciate them being here, but I can't.
Yes.
I think I'm accidentally going to blow it out of the water.
All right. So what's your first deep cut?
So I've got
Alex?
I've got only one for After Hours, which I'm going to take,
Okay.
and that is Catherine O'Hara.
Yes, Catherine O'Hara, who is leading kind of the citizens arrest or whatever the watch, the neighborhood watch kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Catherine O'Hara for
Chasing them around.
8 points.
Great.
Very well done.
And then Night Before, very, very tiny brief cameo at the end, which I completely forgot about until I watched it like last Christmas. James Franco appears. for
So that
10
might be one to let
Mhm.
Julian know kind of
Mm.
what friend group we're talking about with this
Okay,
movie.
so that is someone that their former friend
Mhm.
is someone
Yes, yeah, they don't talk anymore from everything
No.
I've read. James Franco's worth 10 points, Alex. So well done.
So
Well
can we
done.
make 2?
Sorry, yeah. So the way it goes is 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. So Alex gets 2 at the bottom. You're gonna get 2 at the top, Amanda.
Oh,
So
cool.
right now we go back to Julian with his
Okay.
second deep cut. And the person in the middle is always seems to be on the clock. They're always like, "What, me again?" And that's Julian's face right now. It's like, "Oh, great."
No. Yes. So that's definitely broken into that little friend group. Yeah, they seem to always find a couple of jobs for their friends in every movie.
Yes.
I I feel like this wasn't one that became a family affair, though, if he's that much of a deep cut.
Yeah, you know what, Julian? I'll say you're right. And because James Franco's worth 10 points, he's just kind of showing up in this one.
Mhm.
All right.
I think he actually plays himself, if I'm not mistaken.
His character is named James in it. So
yeah,
I think...
it's listed as James Franco on IMDb, so I'm assuming he's just playing himself.
Yeah, so I'm not going to go the family route. I think I have to go. I feel like he somehow gloms onto these. Is Craig Robinson in this?
Ooh, that would have been a nice, because he is in what's the disaster end of the
This
world
is the
movie.
end.
This is
Yeah.
the end with James Franco and some of these other people,
Mhm.
but he is not.
It is
In
genuinely
the night.
surprising.
Yeah, it would have been a decent one. You could have almost
Singing a Christmas Carol or something.
You could have even made him like the third person in the group, potentially. No, I guess not. Based on who the character is in the movie, it wouldn't have made sense. Amanda, you get two. You get two deep cuts now.
I'm gonna take an easy one and go with Kat Dennings. She's the lead in Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist.
Perfect.
She is, and she is worth 1 point.
Yeah, no, duh. And then
Nora.
Jay Baruchel
Ooh,
for The Night Before, or Nick and Nora.
He's in Nick and Nora. He's
Yeah.
Kat Dennings' ex.
He's the
boyfriend?
ex. Oh.
He's the ex that I think gets punched in the face at some point, if I'm not mistaken.
Huh. I saw this movie when it came out, and that was obviously 2009. So I'm just like,
Jay Baruchel for 8 points, so it's a pretty
Cool.
good one. Alex,
That
give
is
us your
cool.
Jay Baruchel.
What I will say,
impersonation
So I'm going to say the point that I want to make, but I'll do it in the Jay Baruchel.
Okay.
And that is, boy, Kat Dennings' character has a type, and it's Canadians.
is the other actor Canadian?
The other lead is Canadian. in that movie.
Oh my gosh.
Is he?
So
Mhm.
yes.
I could see him in my head. I just didn't know he was
that
Canadian.
milk toast face
Yes,
is very
very
very,
milquetoast.
Canadian. I was going to ask you, since you live in New York. Alex, I don't know. Do you get as excited when you see Toronto locations in movies as I do sometimes? Like,
I do,
something-
especially when Toronto is playing itself, because that never happens unless it's like a Don McKellar movie or like Scott Pilgrim, which Don
where it
McKellar
plays
is.
itself. So yeah, it's fun to watch something and be like, "Ooh, that's Toronto." But as New Yorkers, do you even care anymore if a movie's like, unless it's something very specific to you?
It's more like when something's set in New York and it's really obvious they're not filming in New York.
Yeah, on
And
TV
that's-
it's fun.
Yeah, it's really, because when they really are, and you can really see the locations, it's amazing.
Yes,
I mean,
but most times it's not,
Should
right?
I say my fun job that I did that you helped me with for finding things that were wrong about New York?
Oh yes.
Yeah, so I was hired by a legacy media company to watch all of Friends
Yeah.
and make a list of all the ways they get New York
So
wrong.
much wrong.
That's amazing. What a fun job.
How many episodes is that? Is that like 200 plus episodes or like high 100s kind
It
of
has
thing?
to be 200 plus because they were like 22 episode seasons,
It's-
no? 10 seasons?
Yeah, it's so many. Eventually, I was able
We're
to get
going crazy.
the Google Chrome extension that lets you watch HBO Max on like double speed,
Mm.
and it's almost funny that way.
Amazing.
All right, yeah. So that's I was just gonna say, yeah, like how many of these movies? Like I'm assuming After Hours feels very New York to me, at least at the time, like 1985. It had to have been filmed there. There was no way that director didn't film that there.
Mhm.
But I was wondering with like Nick and Nora, like there's a lot of talk about like the suburbs, like
Mhm.
what was it, Hoboken, No Jokin, and I can't remember what other part of Newark they're from, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it has been 16 years.
Yes.
Since I saw. But yeah, no, it's always fun when you can like really see the location. And when they were doing Mrs. Maisel, we used to live on the Upper West Side, and they filmed a lot up there, and so we'd see them kind of redecorating things in our neighborhood to have that vintage feel. But then also we'd see the building and we knew exactly what it was.
That's cool. And I feel like if all four of us watched a movie together, we'd have different experiences. If it was like set in New York but shot in Toronto, and then Jeff and I would be like, "Oh, that's
Oh my God.
Union." And you guys are like, "Pfft, that's not New York. That's garbage."
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was watching a TV show not too long ago, and it was just a scene where they were supposed to be in New York, and they're walking along a street, and I'm just like, there's no New York City street that looks like that. That looks like what's too clean?
Yeah, or there's not 1,000 people walking at the same time kind of thing. It's just like, a quiet street where nothing's happening. It's like, nope, that doesn't.
It's just
that
like,
doesn't
this
happen.
doesn't. What street is this supposed to be? And then also they actually like put up fake street signs, and I would be like, but those streets don't intersect. That's not a corner that exists.
What's it? There's the Seinfeld episode where Kramer gets lost downtown, and he's lost at the corner of First and First. And he's just like, where am I, Jerry? What neighborhood am I in?
The Lower East Side.
Yes. So 8 points for Jay Baruchel for Amanda. Julian, we're back to you with your third deep cut. You're looking at 0 right now. Where are you going from here?
Oh, I feel like I gotta. Do I just gotta try to get points on the board, or am I making another wild guess?
I would say save your wild guess for your last one. Mm-hmm. Like, you may want to get some points. If you think you got points, I would play them.
All right, for Nick and Nora, I guess I gotta go for the obvious after two just falling on my face there. I gotta just put out Little Sandberg. So,
well, I mean, Andy Samberg. There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing. That's nothing. I thought you were going.
No, I think you go to lead. Andy Samberg.
I thought you were going. Guess. Yeah, I thought you were going north of the border with your guess there.
Yeah, Andy Samberg's not the lead. You're thinking of a different movie.
Yeah, you might be thinking of Hot Rod or something like that.
No. There's a movie that Andy Samberg does with Rashida Jones that is also called something similar to Nick and Nora.
Yes, you're 100% right, Amanda. It's 100% the movie I've been thinking of.
Celeste and Jesse Forever.
Yes. Oh, okay.
That's what you're thinking of.
All right. Well, but you know me. You know me too well for how I would think about these movies.
So is Andy Samberg in it?
Andy Samberg is in Nick and Nora. I can't remember even as who. He might be a homeless guy or something like that.
He was on my list of deep cuts for
There's
that
a lot of kind of like SNL-ish kind of people that appear in this movie. He's worth 10 points, Julian. So it's a
okay.
Good
on the board with a bullet.
On the board, and you're not the lowest score of all time already. So congratulations.
All right.
Alex,
sleep tonight.
What is your third deep cut? And then I'll give you all a halfway rundown.
He's in it. He's in The Night Before quite a lot, but it is absolutely insane that he is in it. And his character is also crazy. So I'm going to take Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon is Mr. Green.
Correct reaction, Amanda.
Yeah, he's just selling weed and then hosting a really cool party, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and then to spoil the ending, not that it's a spoiler, it turns out he's an angel and he has earned his wings and goes to heaven.
Yes.
So it's so weird.
Michael Shannon's worth 8 points.
Great.
So, Alex, that gives you 26 at the halfway point. Julian, you are at 10. And Amanda, you are at 9. So, Alex, pump the brakes a little bit and slow down, all right?
I'm at a deep cut, so don't worry.
Good. Alex, it's your fourth deep cut then. Or non-deep cut. What do you
will
got?
take also just in that ilk of comedians in The Night Before is Mindy Kaling.
Yes. The talented Mindy Kaling, I believe, plays the best friend of the love interest. Yeah. I'm going to say. Mindy Kaling for 7 points. Solid cut. Julian, we're back to you with your fourth one. Now that you know this is not
Jesse and Celeste Forever.
Jesse and Celeste Forever. Are you any closer with Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, though? Does it ring a bell for you at all?
Knowing that Andy Samberg got me anything is just, do I guess more?
I mean, SNL when I say people? I'm gonna say there's like one more SNL person, I wouldn't live in that area if I were you.
I feel like I'm gonna go back to After Hours, a movie I have not seen and already guessed wrong on. I'm like trying to remember who's on the poster.
Well, he's only going to give you 1 point.
I know. I don't think it's going to.
Julian, do you know who directed the film?
No, I'm not.
Can we give him a bit of a hint, Jeff?
I mean,
I'll tell you what. It's the same director of Hugo.
Yeah,
that we talked about earlier.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, I mean, you could say his name and see what happens.
Oh, I could say his name and see what happens.
I mean,
But don't say it 3 times or he shows up. Beats your spaghetti.
Oh man, I'm getting a little brain blocked on After Hours.
he's a good fella, some would say.
He knows a lot of the guys that I worked with 2 summers ago.
Marty.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think he works in a diner or something in After Hours. So Martin Scorsese directed the film, and he's capped at 12 points because that's where we always settle our directors in, who like
Okay, little
little
cameos.
little cameos. The M. Night, the Quentin Tarantino. Sometimes Quentin gets less because he often gives himself a 10-minute monologue in the middle of a movie that we maybe didn't need. But so 12 points for Marty Scorsese. Well done, Amanda. You get your 4th and your 5th deep cut.
But now Julian's
Okay.
doing great. And
I'm
Now, yeah,
concerned
yes.
about it.
I'm sticking with Nick and Nora. And I'm going, just remembering it's 2009, SNL people. Seth Meyers?
Ooh, and okay, I'm gonna tell you, he's the last SNL person I think in this film. So that's
Ooh,
why I
that's what I
didn't
was
want to
looking
make
at.
you go too deep down that
I
hole.
was between him and Bill Hader, so I'm so glad I went Seth Meyers.
Seth Meyers for 9 points is a
Okay.
drunk in the back of the lead's Yugo. I believe he drives a Yugo, and Seth Meyers thinks it's a cab, and he gets in the back seat with his girlfriend, and they're just
Oh,
making out, and
yes.
then he just gives the lead like a bunch of money, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna need that for cleaning products." So, nice cut, Seth Meyers
Okay.
for 9 points.
One more for this movie?
Sure. Yep, you got one more.
John Cho?
Yes, as
He's
the
a
hype.
friend,
Yeah,
right?
he's the hype guy for the shitty band. They want to see this band called Where's Fluffy, if I'm not mistaken. That is the band.
Yeah,
that everyone wants to
there's
see,
a band.
which is not a real band. I think they're based on something else, but they're all trying to see Where's Fluffy, and they're at this club thinking they're about to see Where's Fluffy, and this guy comes out and he's like, "Hey, you've all been waiting all night," and that's John Cho. And then the band is not Where's Fluffy; it's some crappy band that comes out. So John Cho, yeah, like I said, very small part for 12 points.
Yay.
Wow.
And
very well
now,
done.
aside from the lead, I can't remember a single other person in that movie.
That's okay. You've put yourself in a good spot now. That's a nice, solid Seth Meyers and John Cho. That's very good. Julian, you've got your 5th deep cut. You've got a decent amount of points now. If you've got any Hail Marys, you might want to throw them out now.
Sports.
Sports, yes.
No, I got sports. I don't know. This is this is a little bit tough one for me. I'm trying to think more through who's kind of my 2 categories. I'm thinking of, now that I know it's a Marty, that does help a little bit, but maybe not too much.
It's not one of those.
No.
Yeah, there's not a lot of, there's no Joe Pesci's
No.
or
Because this was
De
early in
Niro's.
his career, right?
No, this is 85, so
it's
this is
not the
after.
mobsters.
Wild.
It's not all the Bay Ridge boys.
No,
Oh,
No,
you
this
love
is-
those
this is a-
boys, Amanda, and they love
this
you.
is a
They
comedy.
do love me, I know. Okay, you guys do not understand this reference at all, but
Tell us this story. This sounds super interesting.
2 years ago, I worked on a mob comedy movie, and so we basically had all of the supporting characters are all of the guys who live out in Brooklyn and on City Island who have been playing mobsters and all of the things that you think about when you think about mobster shows, like The Sopranos, Goodfellas, A Bronx Tale. They were all on that set. And then when Perfectly Good Moment had its New York premiere, they were all in the theater. So
wow.
we had an entire row of like fake mobsters.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love the one guy who had got like the end seat next to them. He's like, "Is it okay if I sit here?" They're all just wearing leather jackets.
but they
Their
were.
all-
No,
Yeah.
but they really were. They
Jesus.
really are wearing the leather jackets and the sunglasses. Like that is how they show up.
And their hair's all done up like Paulie from The Sopranos, and they're perfect.
They just made it the most respectful audience where it's like, hey, I'm not going to talk because I don't know about these guys.
We were protected.
Exactly. It's like, do you need us to take him out? Do you need any
Yeah.
help?
Somebody gets up to go to the bathroom, be like, hey, sit down. Movie's not over. You're like, yes, right. Okay. Yep.
So Julian, do you have anything for your 5th deep cut?
I mean, it would just be guesses at this point. I'll be honest.
Yes.
I'm trying to think, like, what can we...
I don't know them well enough to even like.
Yeah, I'm
Stop
just, and yeah,
following.
like the After Hours is much more of a comedy, and I would say I almost did After Hours, and I was almost going to do Home Alone 2, because as well as Catherine O'Hara being in both movies, there's another actor that's also in Home Alone 2 that's in
You're
After
sure it's
Hours.
not Joe Pesci?
Yeah, no, I'm totally sure it's Catherine
other one?
O'Hara. The other one, no, not Daniel Stern. No, but
If that's
Ty.
who it was, I would have given him a hint and been like, "Yeah, he's the villain in Home Alone, and I'm probably
Yeah.
too attracted to him, and it's weird." And you'd know who I was talking about.
I mean, and it's
I
funny
know
because
exactly what you were talking about, Amanda.
Exactly.
this guy was also in a couple episodes of The Sopranos, but not as a mobster. I believe he owed Tony some money. And then there's this crossover where people think that Kevin's family in Home Alone made their money because the dad was an accountant for the mafia. If that helps anyone.
Oh yeah, no, I remember his death scene on The Sopranos. If that'll get me any points.
Yes, it will. I'll give it to you.
That's the episode. I believe the title is about retire in Florida, and he chooses his own retirement plan in the garage.
If he's right with this, I know we led him a long way down the path.
Pitch,
but if he knows,
if
he knows the episode, then I think he deserves all the points.
He basically says he wants to retire. He's not allowed to. He offs himself in the garage. It's
Julian,
pretty
describe
graphic.
him.
He's just a guy.
He's a real milquetoast white guy, Amanda.
Totally.
He's a punchable face. I mean, what can you say?
When was Sopranos? I want to find him in The Sopranos. When was The Sopranos on? 90s? Early? Yeah. Well, it went to 99 to 2004. He's in 5 episodes. Season 5. And it's called, no. It's not called that, but I'm going to give it to you. His name is John Hurd. He's the dad in Home Alone as well. I think he's also in The Net with Sandra Bullock
we
for
watched
some
that
reason.
on one of our bad movie nights.
But it's a bad movie.
Yeah, we didn't finish that.
Because it's too much suspension. It's there's a level where I can no longer suspend disbelief, and it's specifically when you posit a female character is really, really smart, and then she continuously makes the dumbest, most boneheaded move the entire movie, when it would have been really, really easy to prove that she was who she said she was, considering her mother was in a fucking nursing home. Do you know what has cameras? A nursing home.
Yeah, so every time she would have gone to visit her, yes.
She would have had to sign in.
The nurses would remember her.
The nurse, like, literally, that's
the
all she
nurses
had to
aren't
do.
also losing their memory.
Exactly. Like, that's literally all she had to do was be like, well, you're right. I don't really see people, but my mom's in this nursing home. I go all the time. The nurses will all vouch that I am who I say I am.
I love it. I love the anger.
I love that
also,
she
you should both watch Johnny Mnemonic if you haven't seen it recently, because it's ultra terrible and it really leans in on early 90s CG.
Oh no. Okay, you know
which is the thing. Like, here we are in the internet. And it's
ultra terrible that you should see. It's Peter Gallagher, Frances McDormand,
oh no,
Jack Black, Johnny Skidmarks.
What?
It is Peter Gallagher's directorial effort.
We thought of doing like watching every Peter Gallagher movie in a series called The Eyebrows Have It, but that was the first one we did, and we decided no, we can't continue on this because it's so bad. It's like every wrong choice you could make.
Yes, it's called Johnny Skidmarks.
It sounds kind of familiar, and it's weird that it's like, Frances McDormand and Jack, and I'm assuming like Jack Black as he's becoming a big star, and Frances McDormand like post Fargo, post other things, and then it is weird when that happens. Like I was thinking about, like, Alex, we almost could do a podcast where you talk about the person like the last time they made a good movie, and then what happened the next 20 years.
Seems mean.
Kind of like
mean.
It's kind of like
I want to do that.
It is. It's kind of like the John Cusack thing. He's super hot. He makes like this. I can't remember what the last movie is. And then like there's a few hits in between, but it's really like 20 years of kind of crap.
Yeah.
Right. Like The Cell and what's that? Like the Stephen King, like Room 1408 and stuff like that. But like I think he shows up in like The Butler, like as Richard Nixon. But I don't know if I count that. And I think he's in Love and Mercy, like the Brian Wilson movie.
Yeah, but then he also did that like weird The Raven, Edgar Allan Poe movie that nobody liked.
Yeah, we talked about that
with the similar one with Christian Bale that came out a couple of years later.
No. Oh, no. This is the Raven. This is the Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
Like
John-
There's also
murder
a question about one that's
mystery.
like not dissimilar.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
nobody saw it.
Well, I mean, the year that The Illusionist came out, so did The Prestige.
Yeah.
Which The Prestige is amazing, but The Illusionist isn't terrible. It just got overshadowed, I
Yeah.
think, by The Prestige.
The Prestige of the Prestige
Is a more prestigious movie, some might say.
I'm glad she went for the same joke in a better way than I did.
She's the writer, Jeff. She's the writer. Comics.
Yeah, I gotta prove my ability to punnily.
We are in the home stretch. Alex, you have your 5th and your 6th deep cuts.
Okay. So the last one for the night before, Julian Bell is in it. I don't think she's worth too much. She's one of the leads.
She
wives.
is
Like,
the
here's a
lead's
bunch of
wife who
drugs.
gives him a little bag of drugs. Yes.
Yeah.
Jillian Bell from
Workaholics.
Workaholics. I think she also shows up in a Jack Black movie. What was the Goosebumps movie? She's in,
Yeah.
the first
Only
one
you saw
was-
that, Jeff. Only you.
The first one was okay. Jillian Bell, Alex. Yes, you're right. She's not worth a ton of points, but she's worth 6, so that's solid.
And
and
now I'm giving you one of the 4 leads from that one because I'm running out. And I'm torn as to who I think is worth more points.
I mean, if you have 4 leads, I would say the one that's not a dude.
I have 3 leads.
Okay. Because I was like, who's your 4th lead?
Yeah, who would be my 4th lead? I have 3 leads.
Okay. I mean, it's 1, 1, and 2.
All right, so Anthony Mackie.
Anthony Mackie is worth 2 points.
Great.
Anthony Mackie plays a football player that is best friends with the 2 leads, and that's why Craig Robinson probably wouldn't have worked in that part. He's a little too old. Anthony Mackie, a little better shape. Looks like he could be a wide receiver playing football. But he's worth 2 points.
Sports positions are. Come on.
But it's a good game, Alex. You did pretty good there. All right, Julian. You are on to your last deep cut. You are within striking distance of Alex with a really good deep cut. So if you've got a Hail Mary, once again, sports, football, go for it.
Oh boy, I think I've gotten too little. Got a little lifeboat that was thrown out to me twice. I know I didn't deserve the second lifeboat, but after puncturing the first, but what can I say? Man, I'm torn whether I should guess another for After Hours after blowing it so poorly the first time.
Yeah, but then you did really well with your Sopranos knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I wish I could tell you if there was other Sopranos people in here. There's not. There is a very, I won't say a famous actor, but this guy shows up in every Joe Dante film, if that helps anyone. Everyone's like, what, Joe? Like, he's in Gremlins. He's in Small Soldiers. He's in The Burbs. He's in... You can go way, way back to Roger Corman stuff. I think he's in like that...
Piranha.
He might be in Piranha. Like, he's in every Roger Corman film, if anybody knows who this guy is.
Including that crab one we watched, Jeff, with the giant crabs on that island.
He might be in that one too, yes.
Is he in The Raven?
Is that the one
Cool.
with...
With
Is
Jack
that... No,
Nicholson?
that one, no. It's, I think he is. I think he's like the 3rd guy in that.
What? No, the
That's a
third.
good deep cut.
It's Jack Nicholson playing the most like flamboyant love interest.
That's got to be Nicholson.
You know what? He's not in it because it's Vincent Price, Boris Karloff, and
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson. He's not in that one, but I think they used a bunch of footage from that movie and made another movie, because that's when Roger Corman would do that thing where he would just film for like an extra week or like a day, and he would just like walk through the door, and then he's like, we'll put this in something.
Well, I do know that Vincent Price was in all but one of Roger Corman's Edgar Allan Poe movies, and the one that he wasn't in is Premature Burial.
Do you know who else is in The Raven? Peter Lorre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Like, Peter Lorre, when you look at his IMDb, that guy's got like 4 amazing movies, and then like most people
Oh,
don't
he
know
did
who
so
he is.
much. Yeah.
You should watch this movie called...
Casablanca.
Mm-hmm.
2 more.
Isn't he also in The Man Who Knew Too Much?
And he might be an M as well.
He is an
M
M.
was
He's
the first
the killer. Yeah, but The Man Who Knew Too Much, Alfred Hitchcock actually made twice.
Yes.
And
the,
then
the remake was with James Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
He's also in The Maltese Falcon and Arsenic and Old
Yes.
I
Lace.
just watched Maltese Falcon.
And Arsenic and Old Lace
Arsenic and
was
Old
on
Lace.
Julian's top
Yes.
5 list.
That's all right. Well, we should have done that one, and then you could got Peter Lorre. You should watch. I think it's just called Targets. It's a Peter Bogdanovich film from like the late '60s, where they use a bunch of footage from this Roger Corman horror film with Boris Karloff, and he's essentially playing himself as this like tired film, like horror film star that's not getting any more roles, and he's like, I should just retire. I'm like, no, this should be your last movie. It's going to be great. But meanwhile, there is a freeway shooter in like LA that is shooting people on the highway, and then somehow those two stories merge together. And Peter Bogdanovich shot it in like 7 days, and it's pretty incredible that like he did it for like no money and essentially just used all this extra footage from I think it's Bela Lugosi or whoever it was. But yeah, Targets. Give it a look. Julian, did you give us a name?
No, I've been stalling.
All right, we've been stalling for you. Do you have your final deep cut?
Oh boy, I'm just trying to think of who the hell's on that After Hours poster, and knowing Catherine O'Hara, I don't know.
I mean, the star was good friends with.
I know something he was in recently.
Yeah, he's actually shown up a few times and stuff. I'm like, oh,
yes, because Julian, you thought he was someone else.
I did.
He was friends with Carrie Fisher.
I know exactly who you're thinking of. You thought he was someone else.
All right, so then I'm not going to say that.
We saw him in that TV show.
Because he was in Only Murders.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And Julian thought he was someone else. And he's also in a very famous monster movie.
That's my touchstone for that, actually.
Okay,
yeah, that's mine too.
I forgot. Forgot about that.
It's very hairy.
Indeed.
I don't think any of these are going to help him get
nope.
the name.
And quite British.
All right. No, none of these are helping me.
I don't know, Julian, if you're going to land this one.
No,
that was pretty good. That was pretty good, I think.
That's not even the name I'm thinking. I mean, but...
Okay, I did get that. Yeah, it's the guy from an American Horror in London.
In London, yes. His name is Griffin Dunn.
Yeah,
and I think he was also in like the O.J. Simpson trial.
Oh my god!
Which he actually plays, because it's funny. Okay, so did anybody know Griffin Dunn's sister,
Dominique Dunn,
was in the girl from Poltergeist who was killed by her? Yeah, and I was like, oh, I think I knew it and forgot.
I did not.
And then because I think Nathan Lane plays Griffin Dunn's dad in the O.J. Simpson trial movie, because he's very against O.J. Like, and by the end he's like, maybe he didn't do it. Like, it's very. Or was that the Menendez one? I'm getting those two ones mixed up because my wife was watching them back and forth. There was the Menendez murder one, and then because of whatever it's called, American
Crime Story.
Yeah, and it's just all these people that you're like, oh, that's the same people. And there's somebody in Nick and Nora's who's actually in one of those as well. If you can think of who that is, Amanda, you would get some points. But this is your last deep cut, and you're close enough.
Okay, I think I have a real deep cut. And I'm going with her because she's in multiple erotic thrillers for After Hours.
Okay, I think I know who you're going with.
I think there's only one person in this movie who's in multiple erotic thrillers. I'm now thinking through. I think she's the only one who's in multiple. Okay. She's got two. She's got Jade and The Last Seduction.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's up against a wall, kind of. Yeah, Linda.
Yes, Linda Fiorentino. Yeah.
From Men in Black.
What?
She's the love interest in the first Men in Black, and then they don't bring her back for the second movie.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
She
which is like
Pat with the little collar.
Yeah, she's works in the morgue, and like honestly, she's one of the best parts of that movie. Like her and Will Smith back and forth,
but Jade is a terrible movie.
Yeah, but what's the
it's a good
the
car crash sequence?
What's the other one? Is it the Bill
The
Pullman
Last
one?
Seduction?
Last
yes,
Seduction.
it's Bill Pullman and Peter Berg.
Peter Berg, yes, that one's really good.
He's the patsy. Bill Pullman is the douchey yet sexy husband.
And Jade, that's the David Caruso one, right?
Yes, it is. It's David Caruso and Chaz Palminteri.
Yeah.
And that
I
movie's
think they were
in the 40-year-old virgin.
Hmm.
He's like, be like Caruso and Jade. It's like, that's terrible advice.
Don't.
Be like
And yeah, it
that.
was directed by Friedkin.
Yeah. it
Oh
was.
man, that's another guy. Up here, down
yeah.
here.
Well,
Like,
I've recently learned he directed a movie about evil trees. That is not The Happening.
What?
Yes.
We've been going back and watching all the worst of
Siskel and Ebert.
Siskel and Ebert end of the year. They're so
sounds
fun to
so
watch,
fun.
and
I love bad movies
the
the most.
quality of
Oh,
the
the
transfers from
quality.
people's just like people's VHS tapes. You know,
Yep.
the sound drops out. It's just they're up on YouTube. Just
I mean, the copy of
excellent quality.
Xandali I watched on, I think, either the Criterion Channel or something else was like DVD at best.
Oh,
And
really?
it was like, it had like scan lines through it. It was not good.
What did we watch it on, Amanda? We watched it like within the last month, I think.
We watched it, I want to say, Amazon Prime?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was Prime.
It's a little soft, but maybe that's the style.
It was Prime because how the fuck did we find it? Was it like
it came up in Cinematrix.
No. I think yes. It was because Nick Cage was on Cinematrix and we were trying to figure out really, really fucking deep cuts for him, and we saw that title and thought, what is a
How'd we miss this
Xandali?
one?
And so then we watched it and we became obsessed. And so we've been doing all of the Erica Anderson DTV erotic thrillers. And by all of them, I mean, there are 3 and we've already done them. There's a 4th DTV thriller that's not erotic, but it is impossible to find. And then that led us into the world of the Gregory Dark DTV erotic thrillers. There are a dozen of those.
sometimes you don't have to do this, you know, Amanda and Julian. Like, you don't.
In their
It's not
defense,
a
Jeff, erotic thrillers are great, and they really don't make them anymore. Like, after the 80s and 90s, they kind of vanished, but I will say, as soon as you guys can, Christmas Day, go see Baby Girl theatrically. It's so great. Great.
I did a live cast with a critic yesterday who had just watched Perfectly Good Moment, and I saw today he was watching Baby Girl, and I was like, "Oh, you're on a kick, aren't you?" And he goes, "Yeah, this wasn't intentional, but apparently I'm just doing, the 2 erotic thrillers that came out this year. The 2, that's it."
Okay, so let me give you a little rundown of anyone you might have missed.
Oh wait, what was the number for Linda?
Sorry, 5 points for Linda Fiorentino.
Okay.
Ooh.
So from Nick and Nora, Michael Cera is your lead. Also from Canada. I think he's from Brampton or something else. It feels
he's
like,
local.
Where's from? Yeah, he's local. The other 2 guys in the band, I mean, they're not really in a ton of stuff. But the girl, the Kat Dennings' drunk friend, is Ari Grainer, who was in one of the American crimes. She plays a prosecutor, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Jay Baruchel. You got the band. Bishop Allen is one of the bands that's playing. You got Seth Meyers, Andy Samberg, Eddie K. Thomas from American Pie. Is the Shitbreak.
Yeah.
He's in it. Frankie Faison from Silence of the Lambs, the guard that lets Clarice in, is in it. And you got John Cho, and then Kevin Corrigan.
Oh yeah.
Is the weird guy that works at the bus depot where the one girl's trying to get home, but she's really drunk, and he like gives her sandwich, and she's like, sandwich. So that's Kevin Corrigan. This is where the crossover is. It's an actor by the name of Bill Walters. He plays a homeless guy in Nick and Nora, and he plays a bartender in The Night Before.
You're right. I would have never
Nobody was going to get
a
it.
million years.
I was so hoping it would have been some weird David Lynch thing, and I could have just been like, Jack Nance, there's a fish in the percolator, because he's my favorite deep cut for David Lynch.
Yeah, Jack Nance, because he's a racerhead, right? Like
he's a racerhead, and then he's literally in everything.
I kind of thought maybe we do Dune, and I'm like, I kind of know Dune. I could maybe do.
He told
Lynch's
David Lynch not to put him in Dune.
Oh,
I
really?
was expecting it to be either Mulholland Drive or Wild at Heart. Because Julian and I had both said Blue Velvet, and I was like, okay, David Lynch has some weird deep cuts. So what are his most famous things? Probably Mulholland Drive or Wild at Heart, other than Blue Velvet.
Sorry. I don't
Smart.
serve up softballs anymore for people. I used to do that in the first few episodes.
That was my assumption.
But you were hitting it so big on like social media with like deep cuts. Like you remember that the little girl from like Love Actually was in
Phineas
and
Ferb.
Ferb. And I was like, oh geez, I only know she's in Adventure Time as Marceline the Vampire.
She's Isabella in Phineas and Ferb, I think.
Is that the friend?
No, she's not Isabella. She's the daughter of
Doofenshmirtz?
Doofenshmirtz, Evil Incorporated.
Yeah, that's who I think she is.
Yes, because it's Ashley Tisdale is the sister.
And then the girl they have a crush on, that he has whichever has a crush on, is Allison
Stoner?
Yes.
From
Yeah.
she's a
Zack
dancer
and,
now. That's more of her
from
thing.
Step Up and Zack and Cody.
And what was the family?
Camp Rock.
Big Camp Rock, but she's
I love
also
Camp Rock.
She's in the big family movie with Steve Martin and
Cheaper by the Dozen.
Yes, she's
and
in
the Missy Elliott music video.
Like, see, these would all have been an amazing
Incredible.
deep cut.
Well, see, here's the thing with me. When it's something that, like, I legit, when it is a deep cut I know, then the info will keep, I know everything. But if I don't, I'm just like, oh shit, I don't know. I'm gonna make guesses.
2015 is the night before. We skipped over Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Seth Rogen. Alex, you gave us Anthony Mackie, Jillian Bell, obviously. Lizzie Kaplan is the other love interest.
I thought, but I wasn't sure if I'd misremembered.
What's her name? Alana Glazer?
From Broad City.
I think, she steals someone's drugs. She steals all the drugs or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. I think she hooks up with Anthony Mackie. Tracy Morgan is the narrator.
There's a narrator?
Yeah. It's not a bad movie. Another Canadian, Nathan Fielder, is in it.
Yeah.
You guys, oh my gosh, that guy's just talk about cringe comedy at its best.
He's from Scarborough. He's super local.
He's super local. We should get him on the podcast, Alex.
Yeah, we could do that.
Totally easy.
Basketball
Just check
player.
his IMDb page.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No problem. Let's reach out to A24 directly.
What do we got? Jason Mantzoukas is in it. I'm assuming playing some version of himself. Yeah. Jason Jones, another Canadian from The Daily Show. Randall Park. And then Seth Rogen's writing partner, Evan Goldberg, because he pops up in a lot of stuff. After Hours, Rosanna Arquette. I should have written down what this woman's in, but Verna Bloom, who's plays Mary in the Scorsese, the Last Temptation of Christ. She's Jesus's mom. Cheech and Chong are in After Hours. Have you not seen After Hours, Amanda?
So long ago.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember the main eight, and I watched it like 2 years ago, and I do not.
They steal him. He gets paper mached by Verna Bloom.
But also, so there's an issue. I keep confusing it in my head with another movie with a really similar title that has Lauren Holly in it. See? And I had to parse through once I realized that this was not the Lauren Holly movie. I was like, okay, I'm seeing the right title, cover, poster. It is The Griffin Dunn. That is not Lauren Holly. Yes.
Terry Garr. We talked about Dick Miller. Will Patton. A very small part from Bronson Pinchot as he plays Griffin Dunn's friend at the beginning of the movie when he's talking about, I got to get it. I got to do something like that. And then my favorite person, I don't know who she is. I think she's just part of the Community Watch team. Her name is Rocket's Red Glare. Or his name is, I think it's a guy. His name is Rocket's Red Glare. And I'm like, that is such
who was like an Andy Warhol person.
It had to have been, right? Like a mid 80s.
Like a Mink Stole kind of.
Yeah.
Like a John Waters oeuvre person.
And if you wanted to go down it, I was waiting for someone to try to give me the other Scorsese's because his mother, Catherine, and his dad, Charles, also appear in the movie. Which are a little tougher to get. You got to give me something. I figured
his mom was in it, but I didn't want to risk it.
Okay.
Mama Scorsese.
Yeah, she's in everything, usually making meatballs or something like that. So we had a really close game here. Alex, you unfortunately won.
I did? I haven't won in a long time.
Wow.
You got 41 points. And then Amanda and Julian ironically tied.
Wow.
At 35 points.
Which is respectable. That's a respectable
perfectly good.
I know what I'm calling the episode, that's for sure.
Oh,
so, Alex, normally you as the winner get to decide or pick a guest for us for a future episode that I try and get. I've heard from you so much.
Fair enough.
That I'd rather throw it over to Amanda and Julian. And since you tied, can you think of anyone that you think might enjoy this game? And they can be someone who would never come on the show.
Yeah, it can
They
be
never
George
do.
Clooney. It can be whatever you
I
want.
have one.
Oh
Julian,
my God, you
can
go.
it be the guy that you kind of thought Griffin Dunn was? You know, who I got really tongue-tied in front of when I met him at the glow thing, and I was like, yeah, I do the acting thing.
Oh boy, him? Really?
Yeah, him.
Oh God. I still make fun of you for this.
I
Yeah,
know.
podcasts, yeah, they're a thing. Amanda literally said podcasts, yeah, they're a thing to Mark Maron.
I mean, okay, you know what? I do see Mark Maron now looking like Griffin Dunn did, say, like 10, 15 years.
Well,
ago.
well, you
Yeah.
know someone
It's the
who
way they styled him in Only Murders in the Building.
Yep. Yeah, with the kind
And
of the
I
hair.
have quite a crush on Mark Maron, and I was at a glow screening that the cast was at. I had a wonderful conversation with Allison Brie, because she's just a dorky theater kid, so we just like babbled on. But when I met Mark Maron, and I don't get tongue-tied often, I really don't, but there is a special subset of dorky but kind of like weirdly sexually attractive and really, really highly intelligent
it's the intellectual part, yeah.
men.
I mean, it's kind of where it's like where I live, like, in that kind of.
Oh, sweet
like-
summer child.
It's like, so it's Mark Maron. There's an NPR journalist who I've felt this way about. Julian knows who I'm talking about. We know him, Julian.
Oh, I know. That's why I'm making this face.
You already knew that. You've known this for 13 years. No, so I met Mark Maron, and I said to him, you know, I'm a fan of your podcast. I listened to it a lot through college. And he made a comment about how when you started doing it, you know, podcasts weren't huge, and it was interesting to see how it took off. And my brilliant response was, podcasts. Yeah. They're a thing. People like them. And then I froze.
That's the closest you get to who's
Nailed
the woman in The Decline of Western Civilization Part 2 saying, I'm
Oh,
going to do the
yes!
actressing.
Yes. Yeah, because then he asked me if I also acted, and I said, yeah, I do the actressing thing.
I feel embarrassed for you,
I
and
love
it's
it.
years
And
later.
I was sober. I was sober.
There's no excuses. That's the worst
No.
kind.
All right, so at this point in the podcast, Alex, I'm going to tell anyone who's listening that hasn't watched Perfectly Good Moment to stop listening.
Watch
I'm
it
gonna
and come
ask-
back.
Go watch it. It's 72 minutes.
Mhm.
Just pause this.
It's on Tubi.
Come back.
Check it
It's on
out.
Tubi. Yeah, watch it on Tubi. That's where they want you to watch it. Download Tubi if you don't have it. If you don't have it, you're stupid because
It's also
it's
just
free.
a website.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
and
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
even need an account. You can just jump on and watch it.
And it's available on Tubi in the US, Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, Mexico.
Don't worry, Amanda. We don't have listeners in any of those places.
Okay.
If you're in
and-
South Korea, you can watch it too.
yeah, you
Probably,
can watch it
yeah.
in South Korea. Not
We
on
are
Tubi,
huge
but
in
on
South
some
Korea.
South Korean streaming service, because we have South Korean distribution too.
That's awesome.
They like erotic thrillers in South Korea. So
That tracks.
Yes, they do.
yeah, it tracks.
So, okay. Alex, I know you mentioned how you really enjoyed the last line in the movie.
Yes. Which can
Ruby's-
I don't
Yeah.
want to. I'm gonna misquote it for sure, but I think
Mhm.
it's Amanda. Your character's like, I hope you have a shitty life. Or
I
something
hope
like
the
that.
rest of your life is really shitty.
That's the one. I loved it so much. That's perfect. That's the perfect thing for your character to say. Nailed it.
Thank you. That was a really fun monologue to write.
I bet.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, like I said, I watched it once just to make sure it wasn't terrible. It wasn't. I watched it again high, and I made a note while watching it high. And then when I watched it the third time, I was like, no, you dummy. But there's that moment where you are watching him
Mhm.
act out one of his, and high, you seem to be enjoying it
Mhm.
in almost a sexual way.
Yes.
And then when I watched it the third time, I was like, I don't know if it's sexual, is much more like just like he's finally getting what he deserves kind of thing.
Oh,
or maybe
no,
it's a
no,
bit
no.
of both. Okay.
It is a bit of both. That is a
Okay.
conversation that Lauren and I had. There was a hot second where she was like, what if she's masturbating during this scene? And then we immediately scrapped that because it's too much. But no, yes, she is definitely aroused by it.
Okay. Because I was like, she's liking this more than I thought she would. Okay, good. I got that. Okay. Logistically, who's controlling? So you've got your friend on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is such a dad question. Like, who's running the VR? Like, I know you're doing the audio, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Is your friend controlling whatever he's seeing? Like,
Yep.
so they're having to be very involved with what is happening. And that's just me going, that's a lot to ask of your friend.
Well, okay, so this is actually it's the manager, it's Angela, who she works with, who gets mentioned a lot, who he hates. So Lauren and I had a lot of conversations, and there were also times where we thought, well, maybe we should branch out of the apartment. Let's meet Angela. And we scrapped that idea because we wanted to leave who Angela was vague, to leave what her relationship to Ruby is as vague. Is she an older woman who took this young woman under her wing and like sees this man as someone she's been with and also wants to get her revenge? Is there something sexual between her and Ruby? So we wanted to leave that all vague. So yes, that is Angela sitting at a computer monitor running everything.
Ew.
Good work,
Ew.
Angela. Nailed it.
Yeah. And that's the part, like, get some sleep. You need it too. And it's like, yeah, she does if she's been dealing with that all evening. Like,
well, there's some symbolism.
But remember,
there's a meaning to the name Angela too.
Oh yes, there is a meaning to. There's a thing called an angel shot. I went to. I did my study abroad in London. So a lot of the London stuff is because I have lived in London. And I went to a wedding in London where we did wear fascinators. It was a very good friend's wedding. She has seen the movie. She saw that it's UK premiere and she was like, all of those wedding jokes, that was about my wedding, wasn't it? And I was like, yes, it was. And there's a thing they're called an angel shot, which is if you're at a bar on a bad date or there's a guy who is harassing you, go to the bar and ask for an angel shot.
Yes.
In the bar. Yeah. So Angela. And there's also here in the States, it's ask for Angela at the bar. And that's what it means. And I don't know if that's still really applicable, but that's why I used that name. Yeah. So initially there were ideas where Ruby was actually the one controlling the whole VR from an iPad. And my brother and a friend of his who actually do coding and VR game development had made a mock-up of what it would look what a beta version would look like. And that was something we scrapped just because visually that's not that interesting to watch her moving her Fubi around on an iPad. We called it Fubi because it was like
Ruby.
Yeah, because it was like, well, you're playing two parts at the same time. Are we talking about Ruby or Fubi now? And we need to differentiate because sometimes you were literally switching between the two.
Alex, do you have anything? I have a couple others, but do you got anything?
No, you go ahead. I really just wanted to hit the final line because I loved it so much.
Thank you.
I want to see the prequel to this movie where you take him to Thanksgiving dinner to meet your family for the first time and somehow your dad doesn't kill him. Like, I just got to wonder, like, what kind of horrible relationship was there with your family where he's a better option? Because he's like I said, congratulations on crafting.
Thank you.
This guy who, like, I was like, oh, like Alex said, from moment one, like when he's like in your space, it's like, I don't like this guy. I don't like anything about him. I didn't mention it because, like I said, there was the two scenes like where he slaps your arm, and then the pinching of the nipples that appeared was a lot for me. And then the last scene where he's talking about you getting pregnant and just how like and he's just like grabbing you so aggressively, and I was just like, oh my gosh. Oh, this was I was going to ask you. Were you giving him an out in that scene where he's in bed and you're like, is there anything you want to say to me? And I just wanted to make sure, like, this is it. I've gotten footage of you having air sex. That's bad enough. But here's your out. And when he doesn't take it, that's when you kind of double down and you're like, I'm going to push you to see how far I can take you kind of thing.
That's exactly what it is. It's she has... Her entire adult life up to this point has been with this man. He has taken the end of her childhood, basically. And as much as she acknowledges that now, there will always be a part of her that's still turned on by him and loves him to some degree. And so, yeah, she's giving him that out, own up to it. But of course, because he has no self-awareness and he is a piece of shit and he's a narcissist, he cannot. And that is the real breaking point of, I am going to push him as far as I can.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't just watch it 3 times because I had to, but
No, it's not. I mean, that's not the easiest to watch 3 times.
no. And I did really like it. So if somehow you've skipped over the part where I said stop listening, go watch Perfectly Good Moment. I think you maybe should have just called it like Dune 3 or something like that, like, or like Barbie 2. Like, people probably would have, but
Gone to
it's a
see
very,
it.
it's
You
a
know
very,
what?
Too.
I could have called it Amityville Perfectly Good Moment, and then it would have been in the Amityville universe, and people would have watched it because people watch everything in the like 42 movie Amityville universe.
Jesus.
So many.
We drove to the house.
Yes, we did. Joe Lipset from Horror Queers, also a Canadian. He reviews for Bloody Disgusting every single Amityville movie.
Oh man,
Every
that's
single
a
one.
commitment.
It is, including Amityville Toilet, which he says is shit.
Seems apt.
It does.
All right. So, like we said, you can find it on Tubi. You can find it on Prime. If you're in Canada, you can watch it on Hoopla through your local library.
But
Where
don't
can
watch it
people
on Tubi instead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where can people find you if they want to tell you how much they love the movie after they've watched it?
I am on Blue Sky and Instagram at Amanda Jane Stern. I am most active on Blue Sky just because Zuckerberg doesn't own it. The engagement is significantly better there.
Yep. I mean, that's where I got you to
Yeah,
come on the
it's-
show,
I'm also a Blue Sky refugee, so
Yeah, the engagement there really, I've connected with really, really cool people there, and a lot of people who I wanted to connect with over on Twitter, and the way it didn't work, and now it's the people in my industry and critics and academics who I really like, who I can now actually talk to, because you actually see the people that you want to see, and it's not just bots. So I'm at Amanda Jane Stern on Blue Sky and Instagram, and I'm on Letterboxd at Witchy Wanderer. Alex, I know we already connected. I saw
Yeah, we're
you
on
leave a
Letterboxd.
review. It's like, who is this person? Toronto. Okay. And then I was like, that's who it is.
Connected the dots.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just Julian Seltzer on Instagram and on Blue Sky, as we were talking about. I'm definitely I'm in a couple of starter packs on Blue Sky, so maybe give me a follow. I guess, yeah. I mean, Amanda and I have different day jobs than this, but
We make true crime.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was looking through your bio.
we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're both true crime producers, so we spend most of our actual day to day just calling detectives, lawyers, all kinds of people, learning about pretty
Murder.
fascinating and grisly murder cases.
That's so interesting.
I walk dogs.
We got nothing on our side. It is not nearly as cool over here.
Well, that is excellent. And I think there is a Perfectly Good Moment Instagram account too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, there is a Perfectly Good Moment Instagram account, and you can follow that. I think that's the only social account that the movie has. The rest is just us posting.
Through about it. Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. Alex, hit me with this outro that you've written for me. Is there...
Yes, there's always going to be direction for it, Jeff. So,
Okay.
Don't read it yet. I'll preface it with a couple of things. First, I try to set it in the 50s of slang. I do open it with what's the rumpus, which is from like the 20s, but that's fine, or 30s or whatever. And you say, gonna bake a biscuit, which is cutting a record in the 50s. But anyway, here's your character for this one, Jeff. It's like New Year's Eve. You're the 6th member of the Rat Pack. And it's like nightclub, you finished out your show and you're just kind of like a lounge singer. You can throw some piano behind it in post if you want to. Where you're like, all right, everybody. But it's going to be your hardest role yet, Jeff, because you've done Santa, you've done Cockney, we've done all kinds of stuff, but you have to be cool in this one. So I know it's going to be your biggest stretch. So here we go.
All right. I don't know if I can do Rat Pack. I think I'm more of a James Dean kind of guy, Alex. But
In no way would I say that that's true. No, you just have to do like lounge singer, and you can even do like a Richard Cheese. Like it doesn't have to be terribly cool.
I feel like I'm going to start doing the nose thing again, like I did when you had me do the gangster.
That was a different one. That was when you were an informant.
Let me hear what you think it sounds like.
It would be like cooler. So it'd be like, all right, everybody, thanks for coming on out to the show, and I hope you join me next month when we have a whole new lineup for you.
Okay. I hear what you're doing.
Have a whiskey and a cigarette, and you're fine.
What's the rumpus, folks? Thanks for coming out to the show. That's all she wrote for this year. I'm going to bake a biscuit before I do. Congrats and ring-a-ding-ding to today's winner, Alex Young. And thanks always to the band leader, Maestro Alex Young. Enjoy the holidays, take the rag top down to your passion pit, clean your cheetahs, and enjoy some movies. Stop laughing at me. We've got some great music lined up for you next year, so be sure to come back and join us. Until then, may you all live to be 100 years old, and may your last voice you hear be mine. Chin chin.
That 100 years thing is a Frank Sinatra quote, which is insane.
Oh my God. Julian, Amanda, thank you very much for coming on the podcast, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you for having us. I had a blast, even though Julian and I tied but lost. I know our deep cuts are like legit way too deep. They're so obscure.
Next time you're gonna blow it out of the water, and it's gonna be all like
it'll be
French
like
New Wave cinema.
Yeah, it'll be like, ooh, 1950s French. Ooh, Jean Moreau. Yes.
No, Amanda, next time you'll be on an ocean liner, and I'll still be trailing along in a little lifeboat. So.